It's good to see everybody this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in the hands of our capable city clerk, Ms. Lisa Lambert.
This is the pre-meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, December 19th. We have approval of minutes from December 12th.
Any issues?
Appeals, we have requests for a waiver of the noise ordinance on December 23rd from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. on Westwood Street.
No issues.
December 31st from 9 p.m. until 12 a.m. on Dolphin Street. Public hearings today is a public hearing to rezone property located at 4305 and 4315 Halls Mill Road from B3 and I-1 to I-1, and also 4354 and 4364 Halls Mill Road from R1 and B3 to I-1.
Mr. President, can someone from planning explain these two to me? These two rezonings. It looks like they're subdivisions as well. Was there an intent in the application of what they're planning on doing, or?
To my recollection, no. However, both applications, neither one of them had anyone in opposition at the meeting, nor did we receive any comments or concerns from the public. They're in the same general area. The one on the south side, if you notice, it's surrounded by I-1. It's the only B3. The one on the north side, it's kind of the opposite. It's one of the few R1 properties, and the rest of it's primarily B3. And those are proposed to go to I-1. Again, no one in opposition, nor any concerns from neighboring property owners.
Is there a subdivision involved with these two, like a 2-to-1 lot?
Yes, I'm looking the north side. That is 2 lots, and those are going to 1 lot. The south side. South side, same situation.
2 lots to 1.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Pappas.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, good. All right. Ms. Lambert.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Jennifer Thick, Interim Director, History Museum of Mobile, to provide updates related to the museum. William Boswell, speak in opposition of the construction of a gas station at 900 Government Street.
You got a second right there. Margaret, are you? I saw you. Is Shayla back there? Shayla, the CVS at the corner of Government and Broad Street. There is a application for permit, also an application for certificate of appropriateness. Is the only thing these people, this group of developer has to do is submit a design and get it approved through ARB, and then a permitting process through urban development for constructability?
Correct. An application was submitted for review for permitting. It was flagged by historic because it is in a historic district and lacked a certificate of appropriateness. So they are required to submit an application to the Architectural Review Board to ensure that it meets the design standards. The B4 gas station is a compliant use and B4 zoning designation.
So it doesn't have to come before the Planning Commission. Neighbors are in an uproar about a gas station on the corner right there. Nobody really wants it there. Some have mentioned reference to previous city planning and master planning about the corridor and not trying to do these types of developments before. You've even heard me say before that we really don't need to continue to put these types of developments along Government Street. It even goes back to the deal we made with Griffith Shell at Ann and Government also to curtail the continued development of gas stations and things like that along Government Street. Is there anything that we can do at this point in time to consider the neighbors and the constituency base that don't want to see this development happen?
The only path with regard to that use and that B4 designation is to apply a zoning designation other than what's there or restrict that use. But that would not be tied to this particular application. That would be a matter that would have to go before the Planning Commission and then to the City Council.
Being that the council controls zoning, could the council restrict the zoning there?
That would be a legal question. Now, I would say, just to give some insight, that would be considered a down zoning on this property.
Mm-hmm.
And so in essence, the property owner's use that's tied to that property would be taken away. So there would be some legal ramifications to consider when doing so.
Yeah, because it already has an owner tied to it. If it didn't have an owner, we would have an option to do that.
But if it's tied to the ARB and appropriateness for the historic area, could that not be?
Oh,
No.
I don't think it's the appropriate design. I think it's the commercial use of a gas station on the corner there.
So
also.
it doesn't matter what the use is?
It doesn't matter what the use is. It sounds like the neighbors are in an uproar. It's not. It's only going to get louder and louder as it gets closer and closer. We need to have a definite list of cans and can'ts, and I guess a list of what they can and can't do or request as this process goes, so they know exactly the approach, what to take, and how to move forward with it. If you guys remember right, from 1968 to about I want to say 90, 89, there was a Shell gas station on the other corner, which presented a lot of problems. And across the street for some time, over the years, there was a car dealership, a Rug and Shea, a Sub King, and all kinds of stuff on the corner where the CVS is currently. There's never been a gas station on that corner whatsoever. And, I just personally, I really don't think it's appropriate for what we've done along Government Street and then what we're trying to prevent, from happening in Government Street going forward. We all know the disaster we have at Catherine Street in Government with that development being off the street and all the asphalt along Government Street. We just don't need to continue to create situations like this that we can't fix along with the most historic corridors in the city.
Question. Just a couple of things just came to mind. First, possible overlay. Second, sending the Planning Commission a request to look at the uses, kind of like what we were doing with some of the development in Village of Spring Hill. Just some ideas of just,
Yeah, but there's
Possibilities.
no overlay there.
I know,
Yeah.
but creating an overlay, which would restrict uses, but how difficult would it be then to go back and amend the UDC's list of uses? That would be the entire city, but you're looking for a specific area.
It probably wouldn't be hard to do that, but the problem is the process has already started on this.
Yeah,
What brevity and levity do you give to the person that's already started the process?
that's true. Yeah.
So this is where we have that quagmire in the UDC that we've been talking about, and now we're faced with it, and we're faced with it right on the corner of Broad and Government, in an area that we're all trying to make a little bit better.
Just a little bit more clarity with regard to the process with regard to this application. This project cannot move forward unless the ARB grants a certificate of appropriateness. Now, their responsibility is not with regard to the use of the property, but to ensure that it complies with the design review guidelines. And that decision rests with the Architectural Review Board. If a certificate of appropriateness is not granted, then that particular project doesn't move forward.
When it comes to something like a service station, can they require then that it look like a historic building and fit?
Their charge is with regard to massing scale, adherence to the design review guidelines. They look at the layout of the site. So they have the ability to weigh in with regard to how that gas station would be
Design.
aesthetically designed for that site.
The answer to your question, Gina, is yes. At the corner of Slava and Broad Street about 10 years ago, they wanted to put a gas station there. If you remember that, we really had to rise up against. So I'm pretty sure they could, but the end result is that once they reach the point of appropriateness, we still have a gas station. And that's the issue here. I don't think the neighbors are favorable to that type of new construction and development right on that corner right there.
Mr. Davis? Yeah.
How long, the property is zone B2, is that correct?
B4.
B4. And how long has it been zoned B4?
The zoning of the property ties back to the far as back as we see is the 1960s zoning ordinance, as that property at that time was used for automotive repair.
It was used for automotive repair.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it's B4, it's been B4 for 60 years. I just think the ARB process needs to run its course, but you say they can't affect the use, they can just affect the design of the facility, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
That's the quagmire here. And the UDC really doesn't help us, looking through it, I don't even know where to grab a hold to help the neighborhood and the neighbors that are rising up against this other than the ARB. But if the applicant was to continue to go through the process and eventually get approved by the ARB, there's no way to truly have a planned development right there that fits the neighborhood. Everybody's already talked about the environmental issues. We had the same thing across the street, if you remember right, abating that issue, but the church took care of that. I just don't want to go through another 60 years of the same thing on the other side of the street. Thanks. Let's work our way through this and see what we can do.
Madam Clerk?
James Jackson, comments about racial profiling, mass incarceration of non-violent Black people and police brutality. John Young encouraged citizens and government officials to take time before speaking to maintain order and unity. James Williams comments about police and community actions to promote harmony and faith between citizens and law enforcement. Nigel Hill provide information about mothers involved against gun violence. David Whitlock expressed concerns about homeless issue in Tillman's Corner and how it affects businesses and citizens. Sabrina Mass concerns about disbursement of city funds and funding nonprofits. Ordinances held over. 14052, ordinance to amend chapter 14, contracts of the Mobile City Code.
Mr. President,
Just some place.
I think where we are on this, my recollection of where we are on this is that the administration was going to go back and massage this ordinance to come up with something which might be more amenable to the city council. Is that right?
That's right. We just asked you all to hold it over for 3 weeks, so that we Mr. Leonard can get together and coordinate on what those appropriate changes should be.
Okay, so 3 weeks is one night.
Tonight, I believe.
January something.
January 9th.
Second week in
23rd,
January.
23rd, something like that.
No, it's the
Ninth,
ninth.
January
The
9th.
second week is first week in January.
January 19th.
Nine.
Ninth.
Nine.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Mr. Reynolds?
my recollection was there was very little in here that we thought we could really adopt. It may make more sense to just table this and then reintroduce a totally different ordinance at some point. That would be my suggestion, to table it. Any objection from y'all, or any reason why we shouldn't?
It doesn't matter to us.
Okay.
We just table.
You just want to table it?
Yeah.
Okay.
30053, ordinance to amend chapter 34, schedule of licenses and provisions in chapter 30 related to the sale of alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
So after last week's input regarding the general contractors and the home builders, the idea was that maybe we do the home builders and the general contractors a $500 flat fee for 2024. And we've been trying to get in touch with the president of the Home Builder Association, Brett Orrell. So when we went to print yesterday, really, I think it was at the request, kind of a consensus here that maybe we just go $500 with the home builders. Mr. Rell told me yesterday afternoon at 4:00 that the home builders favor the 0.0025. So my recommendation is that between now and 11, now in the meeting, we can amend the document that was sent to you so that it reflects what they, because according to Mr. Orrell, they got a representative group together. They worked through the numbers to see what it would cost them, and they were all comfortable with that. And so my recommendation is to follow that instead of doing the direction we were headed in last week, and that was to assess them $500. Or the business license be $500 for the home builders. So if y'all are in accord with that, then what we'll do is we'll get Ricardo and his team working quickly to amend that document, or either y'all can amend it on the floor, whichever way is the best according to Mr. Linder and Mr. Woods.
What about the general contractors?
General contractors will be their fee instead of $120 that they've been paying for decades. It'll be $500 next year. The agreement with them is that we will work throughout the year next year so that for business licenses in 2025, we will try to develop a formula that they and we are comfortable with.
Okay, so $500 for the generals and 0.0025 for the home
Builders.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
correct.
Great. Everybody okay with that?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
64060, consider proposed modification of a previously approved plan unit development for property located at 161 Dogwood Lane, and 64061, consider proposed modification of a previously approved plan and approval for property located at 161 Dogwood Lane. Consent resolutions held over 1143, 1144, 1146 are declaring the structures at 1021 Somerville Street, 508 Maple Street, and 617 Euclid Avenue public nuisances and ordering them demolished, secured, and repaired.
Dave?
Yes, good morning, Mr. President. I have a brief update for all three of these. Keep in mind, they were on the agenda about 60 days ago for all three of them. And Mr. Penn, the one that's located in your district, regretfully, they have not followed through and gotten a permit or begun repairs. Now, keep in mind, the damage is as a result of a limb that fell, so it's minor. And this is one that we're looking at partial demolition just to secure the structure. We would request that we move forward. The second one we have at 508 Maple Street, Mr. Carroll, this one's in your district, and regretfully the same situation. The owner did not follow through with a permit, and they have not begun on-site repairs. And due to the damage on the exterior wall and the foundation, we would request that we move forward and declare a public nuisance with the demolition.
Can it be secured?
Not this particular one due to the damage of it.
The owner?
The owner has the right to come down and get a permit. And just keep in mind, we're at the end of our phase. We have a 120-day window for council to take action.
Do we have a relationship with the owner, David?
No, I do not.
Have we identified them and reached out?
Yes, because they were here 60 days ago before council at the public hearing.
Yeah, I know him. You know, that's their family home. You're aware of that, right? And they're probably struggling to try to keep it. And we're going to go rip it from them, just like we've been ripping other family homes from them because they can't afford to do what's right. And this is where I have a problem with nuisance abatement, because we're about to go take their family home from them and they can't afford to maintain it.
So what do you want to do?
Give me another week on it.
You want
Give me 5 days.
And just keep in mind for council, we are at that point for 120 days. So if you decide not to take action, what will happen?
We don't meet next week, right?
That is correct. We will time out after 120 days. And the reason being is that the clock starts when we send notice to the owner. We put it on the agenda about 60 days in, which gives us another 60 days.
What's your drop dead date, David?
Today. We have to make a decision today, or we will take no action at council level, and I'll just start over with new notices. So that's completely your choice, but we are at the dead drop date today. And to follow up,
You can't give me 2 days, 3 days to go chase this family down?
well, I do want to put in there, if the property was declared a public nuisance today, doesn't mean that we're just going to run out there and demolish it. We do have 2 months of processing. They have a 10-day appeal period. And then we have to go through and identify the scope of the project with identifying contractors. So we're 2 months out from any demolition. So the owner does have time, additional time, to get a building permit.
But if you can't track them down quickly,
I know where they are.
you know.
I know where this group is. All right.
Okay.
I'll take care of this to find out where they are between now and Tuesday.
Okay.
All right. And then I'll get with you. I'll let it go today. I'll find out between now and Tuesday if we or they or find some way to help them. If not, we'll move forward.
Fantastic. And once they get a repair permit or demolition permit, whichever they just decide, we will step back and let them finish.
Depends on their revenue.
Yes. Mr. President, I do have one other update, Mr. Daines. The location in your district, 617 Euclid Avenue, this is a happy story. We have a owner that has begun repairs. They're not finished yet, but they also have an active permit, and we request a table this one.
Okay, thank you very much, David.
So, Mr. Carroll, are we going?
No, we're gonna go forward with 508, and I'm
Okay.
gonna get down there in the campground.
Okay.
And,
Madam Clerk?
Resolutions held over 14-1102, approve an application seeking permission to incorporate a capital improvement cooperative district and authorizing such incorporation.
Guys, I've talked to quite a few people on this. There are some upgrades to this that were some good ideas presented by some other people with this. Carrie, myself, and Preston Bolts kind of going to add some things to this. So I'm going to ask that we, or amend this, going to ask that we lay it over to a point time in January so that we can make the appropriate corrections. If you guys don't mind, I know I keep pushing it down the road, but there's been some really other good ideas coming from the county. There's been some good questions from a couple of the council members. And I think that to make it best for everybody as they request it, we can take a little time and I can get it done in the next 3 weeks. Next 3 weeks, you think I could get it done?
I'm sure anything's possible, but if we change that application, we have to start the process over.
Well, if we start the process over and we wind up having to change it in the next meeting with the entire group, then we'll table this in January and introduce the new process.
Yeah, that sounds
Right. Just, I mean, we don't know how it's going to end up. I think we have a point to where we have a whole lot of questions and I think a lot of good ideas that everybody would like to see interjected into it.
So what date in January?
January 9th,
Make it
it's 3 weeks.
the third week in January. Give us some time to make sure that we contact
16th.
everybody.
16?
Yeah, 16 January. Make sure we get a chance to really
Really
introduce it
helpful.
again to everybody if there's any changes that are going to cause us to ask us to table one and introduce another.
01-1336, authorized Public Works Cooperative Agreement with the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners for construction of the St. Louis Street project.
Where's that money coming from, you guys? Is this coming from the fund balance or is this coming from capital? It's coming from Restore. I didn't read that anywhere. I guess I missed it, but we're good.
$4.2 million
Yeah.
is coming from Moz for this. That's
Yeah, and the rest of the project is
Oh, I was asking about the 4.2 million. Okay.
the rest of it is.
And one last thing, I haven't seen any drawings on St. Louis Street yet. Are we finished with
We're
those?
finalizing the 90% plans and we're going to be meeting with constituents.
Can you give me a date for the meeting for
We're working on January meetings.
January meetings?
We've already been communicating with some of the developers on St. Louis. And we're continuing that in January.
Okay.
Zero 1337, authorized project development agreement between the City of Mobile, the City, Mobile County, the Industrial Park Board of Mobile County, and Scanell Properties.
Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds?
Last week, there was an agreement in principle on this one that the use restrictions would be in place. That's in the contract. the conservation easement of 105 or so acres. That's been placed in the contract. The lighted intersection at Todd Acres Drive and Rangeline Road, that's in the agreement. The only question outstanding was the 40-acre parcel that's on the eastern boundary of this property. I think there's been some misunderstanding associated with it, that property, as the mayor stated last week, would be required to downzone to R1 from I-2 and B5. If y'all remember, that was on our agenda about a month or so ago. I think all parties agree that that should be downzoned to R1, but there was also a little bit of a misunderstanding about the wetlands that are on that property, about those being placed into conservation as well. I've talked to Baykeeper, administration, the various parties that are involved with all this. You know, the best way to protect those, or a way to protect those wetlands there, is to downzone to R1. So I'm, conceding to the fact that those wetlands won't be placed into a conservation easement, in hopes and understanding that the wetlands will not be disturbed. So where we are right now, as of last night, again, we're here at the 9th hour. There was no deal. I just spoke with Lathan, IPB Representative David Rogers, and Scannell, and city representatives. And I advised them that if we execute a memorandum of understanding for this eastern parcel, this 40-acre lot, that it will be downzoned on January 9th, which we've already called for the public hearing. The intent would be for it to be downzoned on that day by consent of us on the council. The memorandum of understanding is executed to that effect, and there will be no objection from any party, and we get that today, executed by all 4 parties, I'm okay with moving forward with this. If that's not satisfied, then I would want to hold this to January 9th, hold it over to January 9th. So between now and 10:30, we should get, I don't think any of us has fully seen the full package of, because this will have to be amended. So we need the full package, right, Mr. Linder, of all these changes? And that memorandum of understanding that will have to be offered on the floor.
We need the full package of whatever the council's approving here today, yes.
Which includes those maps that everybody was emailed, that includes the legal descriptions of all the conservation easements. That's not been offered up. And then the various changes to the project agreement have not been offered up as well. So those are the things we need to get done between now and 10:30. And if we don't have those, then, my request would be to hold to January 9th. I'm pretty confident that we'll have those. What do you think, Mr. Mayor? You think we're going to have that stuff?
Well, they're working on it, but I'll say this, that the 40 acres has nothing to do with the Scannell project. And so what the request today is to vote for the project development agreement. And the details having to do with the 40 acres, the downzoning and everything else, I feel comfortable that we'll work all of that out. But, you try to leverage this thing so one's contingent upon the other. And for your vote, that may be exactly right. For the town council, that may be right. But we don't know of any reason not to vote on the project agreement as it stands at this point in time.
Okay.
We are working to satisfy what you requested.
Okay.
To get that done. But I'm in hopes that we can put this to bed, because last week, in operating in good faith, we approached the developer. They paid, I'm gonna say, an above normal fee to get surveyors out and get the delineation for the wetlands. The developer has done every single thing that we have, or that you have demanded. Okay, and that we've done this. And so we're at a point now where I understand about the wetlands with Jerry Lathan, but I hope that we don't confuse the two issues.
Okay, Mr. President, just one comment on that. There has been confusion, but it's been really not on my part. It's been an effort to sort of separate these 2 parcels. But Michael and I have gone through these agreements. The agreement for the project agreement refers to a purchase and sale agreement between the Industrial Park Board and Scannell Properties for 4 parcels of land, and they identify those parcels of land by a parcel number. So we've looked at these parcel numbers, and in fact, there is no separation on this 40 acres of land. That, you know, there's this effort to say it's a separate deal. When this project agreement's executed and the purchase and sale agreement is executed, Jerry Lathan is not a party to any of these. All this property transfers directly to Scannell. Now, they may have some other agreement that we're not, you know, privy to, but why it's important to me to continue to stand on the facts that these things are connected is because if we don't do it now, there's no guarantee, although there's some handshakes and, you know, relationships that can be talked through and discussed. But if we don't do it now, then there's no guarantee that it gets done. So it's important to me, and I appreciate y'all continue to work between now and 10:30 to get that MOU executed between all parties.
Mr. Davis?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This is an important project for the city of Mobile, and we've been over the numbers before. 1,000 jobs, $600-700 million in capital expenditures. All that's very important. What's really, really important is it's important to the continued growth of the Port of Mobile. It's absolutely critical to continued growth of the Port of Mobile, which is the single largest driver of our economy. We've been through all that. Now let's talk about for a minute what happens if we don't do this deal. All that land is sitting out there at I-2 right now. If we don't do this deal, we are going to have embittered landowners out there sitting on I-2. They're not going to sit there with undeveloped property from now till hell freezes over. They're going to develop that property. And right now, they can put it to any I-2 use, including those that are prohibited or prescribed under this agreement we're talking about. So there would be no conservation easements. Those prescribed uses would be available. We'd also have an embittered developer, which might make it difficult for us in the future to attract other developers whose developments are critical to the growth of the Port of Mobile to come to Mobile. So there are reasons for us to go ahead and do this deal today. What we don't want to happen is this deal slip through our fingers and have none of the positives and a bunch of negatives attached to it.
Mr. President, we've already considered that, right? I mean, we've had really a bolstered ability here with that if, and that's not my goal and never has been my goal for this project to walk away or not happen. It's just been trying to find the right balance. But let's say they did. Your assumptions are not correct, in my opinion. Attorneys and I have discussed this. When they made their application to the Planning Commission, certain things were said that they were going to do, that they were going to build this big facility and all this sort of stuff. Well, if they walked away and they weren't doing that, you don't get to just keep I-2. We are well within our rights in this city with the city council to downzone this property back to its original form. So there are some implications that, they step away, we can downzone it right away and we'd be on good legal footing, and they have a pretty high burden to meet to overcome that at circuit court. So I wouldn't be as scared as you've outlined here, Mr. Davis. But I have hope that we'll get it done this morning.
I just want to register my disagreement with Mr. Reynolds.
I have a question.
Vice President.
If for some reason the MOU is not ready to go at 10:30 or before at least we get out of the meeting at 10:30, are all of the parties, including the property owner, are all of the parties willing to wait until January 9th? Have we gotten any sort of commitment from them that they say, no problem, we'll wait until January 9th?
Well, from back down here this week, anticipation this would close. So at any point in time, we could have enough to say, I'm done. Okay. And anyway, that's a reality. Now, what happens then? Yes, we may be able to downzone it. No. But you got two developers that we've dealt with for a long period of time. Stonewater, you would ask FP Stonewater about doing business with the city of Mobile. Then you ask Canal. These are national developers. What do you think they're gonna, what's the strategy? Okay, that's something to consider. Because every day we're out there trying to sell the city, and if we negotiate in good faith, and when we get to a deal and the goalposts move, it makes it very difficult on both sides. So I'm just hopeful that, that we don't push to find out what somebody will do, because that's a lose-lose deal. And this is an opportunity to win-win. So that's just my opinion after working with the developer. And again, I would say that again, he's done everything at this point in time, beat it today, try to close today. He's done everything he can.
Mr. Carroll, then Mr. Days.
Have you talked to the people down there to know what they want? Really? Yeah, you've talked to that neighborhood down there?
I've talked to many people. I mean, I think there was almost 3,000 emails sent to this city council where they've been
Yeah,
brought
there
up.
were almost 3,000 emails, but they came from France, Germany, and
Nah.
everywhere else too. So I know, don't, let's not go there. Let's be truthful. They came from all over the world. So let's be truthful here. Did you talk to the community?
I've talked to the community of Todd Acres, many of those residents. I've talked to many of the residents of Cypress Shores. I've got a community meeting scheduled for tonight. If you recall, just two short weeks ago, this agreement was placed on our agenda. And as soon as it was, I set a community meeting for tonight. We're going to have a community meeting on it tonight to discuss it, in its full finalized detail with them tonight. So, there's been a lot of discussions ongoing amongst us and all the various parties, but the finalized deal has not been, shown and discussed with them, and that was the intent of the meeting
But
tonight.
did they direct your actions in saying that this is what we want, or is this something that you want? Because the two times that I went through this, it was the developer, the owner, and the neighborhood all in the same room. So have they told you what you want, or is this something you think that they want?
So we're working, we've worked with Baykeeper, of course.
I know that. I said the neighbors.
Yes.
Is this what the neighbors want? It's a little small.
That live close by.
Those that live close by this.
Yeah, so there are many, I will say, that don't want anything to happen whatsoever. I got an email again this morning that said, we don't want it to happen no matter what. We don't want any development on this property that's going to affect any wetlands whatsoever. And then there are others that say, we want the traffic is a major issue. That's the Todd Acres neighborhood's major concern, is that there's already a load of traffic there and it's not a safe intersection, that they want a traffic signal there. So that's why that was roped in there. These are not things that I just pulled out of a hat. And these discussions have been going on since September of last year, not just with me and the developer and the Chamber of Commerce, but my constituents as well. Matter of fact, I brought at least one constituent up here, and we sat down with the developer, somebody who's got a good feel for the area, and we discussed this through. And so, yeah, this is not Ben Reynolds' hopes, wishes, and desires. This is the desire of the community. And I think we've struck a good balance if, we can execute this MOU and get that 40-acre parcel or 38-acre, whatever it is, parcel down zone to R1. I think we've struck a good balance. But, like I said, it's trying to thread the needle amongst folks that don't want anything and the folks that agree that is supportive to the economy. Although I don't think any of their household income is going to increase as a result of this.
Yeah.
So we're trying to strike the right balance. We're close.
Question to Shayla and Margaret. Is there a separate parcel or anything that went through planning commission for the separate 38 acres? Is there a separate survey separating those properties out? Or did they leave?
This was that.
Well, he's asking that there be a separate parcel that has a conservation district in it, separated from the maps that we currently have. Did they submit anything to us that states that this has already been separated out?
As far as the planning commission, thank you. As far as the planning commission applications received, we have had two. One was the large several hundred acres rezoning, and then the one that was before the council a few weeks ago. Those are the only two applications.
And one more thing, can the council rezone, downzone from its current thing to R1 without request of the owner?
Yeah, somebody's got to request it, but
Yeah, can we do it without request of the owner? I mean, we ordered this as it being advertised for rezoning last week or a public hearing for it. Can we downzone without an owner's request?
So, Mr. Linder's already opined on that, and he and I can talk about that offline. It's probably better served than we do.
Better say it again.
It's probably better served for the city that we just talk offline. You'd already given an opinion on it.
What was it?
City council by the UDC on its own motion to initiate rezoning.
so we can
And
do
an
it without the
application is not
owner.
necessary.
Application is not necessary, and that's under the new UDC? Okay. All right. And,
64-5-5.
and the developer came down here today with the understanding that we were going to pass this today. I mean, did we tell him that we were going to pass this today?
I haven't spoken to
We
him.
have an agreement, we have a gentleman's agreement we left here, that everybody was okay with it. And that was my understanding. And so it was gonna be the second read, and there was nothing to keep us from voting on it, at that time when we left.
So last week, when you called all of us asking to possibly lay this over, you didn't talk to the administration. Sounds like you did.
I don't know that I may have talked to Jim, but nonetheless, look, this is all public record. You can go back and see what the terms of the deal were, you know, that there was this 40 acres as part of it. I mean, there were public comments made to that fact.
Ben, I'm trying to help you here. Don't go backwards now. And you're not helping yourself right now. This deal's been going on for a year and a half. There's been a lot surrounding this. We had to fight through the issue with the sewer and the water out there. We had to do all kinds of things to get to this point. The developer didn't run then. Is there a chance, if we don't move hard on this today, that the developer can wait another 2 weeks?
So when,
This,
Cal, I'd say this, if this was your project, and you had worth that having $2 million in it, and you've been told, you know, that you will meet these deadlines, how would you feel?
I mean, I'll be a little disenchanted, but if the project's gonna, if the project's gonna be profitable to both the developer and the city, that I would be more than willing to be a little patient. Now, my concern is the continued constraints growing is my concern. How far are we going to continue to hobble the development? Because it seems like the development isn't hobbled. It seems like the conservation district
that's
is
the
what's
only
being
issue.
hobbled. So it seems like there could be some type of clear path here if the councilman from District 4 was willing to lead us there. But it seems as if though there's a want to delay this on the conservation side as opposed to development side.
That's not the same question.
Hold up. Mr. Garrett, one more question, then Mr. Davis will step in. One more. Mr. Garrett.
The thing here, Mr. President, is that there's no clear entity to me that's saying that they're separated. There's no two surveys that clearly mark the two boundaries, either meets and bounds or a true survey that says they're two separate parcels here to be talked about in the development. And I think we had that, it would help me moving forward today.
So they're all upstairs, they need to be able to answer that question, I can't answer that question.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't think we should have this conversation at 10:30 and open if we can solve it right now. If we could come back to it at the end of can we come back to it at the end of today's pre-council meeting before we go across the street?
Mr. President,
Mr. Davis.
my suggestion would be that we move this item to the end of the agenda. That if we don't have the MOU here, by the time we complete our meeting, we could recess and come up here and
Finish
have our
it.
luncheon and everything. And then at some point this afternoon, we could take up, when the MOU is signed and everything, we could come back to this item. I'm willing to be here all night long if it takes to get this item passed today.
I'm okay with that. All right.
Yeah, and a couple of things too. I don't think you have seen anybody on this council be in opposition to an MOU or to downzoning the property. Either one. I don't think anybody on this council is opposed to it. I think it's just a matter of how we get there. So if it's the MOU, that's fine. If we have to pass the project today, I'm good with that. But we could, my question actually was, I know there was the application for the downzoning a couple, 3 weeks ago. It's the same basic request. Could we add that on the agenda today and get it over with?
It's already been done. We did that. So that's why January 9th is that's the date for this to happen on this motion, on the council's motion, right? We have the ability to rezone this
Oh, that's
property
what
on January 9th, but
public
we have to
hearing
meet
is.
the
Oh,
notification requirements, which is
Okay.
15 days or 3 weeks if I
yeah, I
remember
forgot about the
according to
public hearing
UDC.
date.
So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying hold it to January 9th, but we've resolved this, okay? We've resolved this matter so it can be passed today, so long as this memorandum of understanding with all four parties agreeing to it, which will then be included as part of the record and a part of the rezoning application, so that if there are objections after the fact to the rezoning, nobody can sue us, sue the city, and try to claim that we took their property rights for them. So that's the intent with all this, is that this ensures, so long as on January 9th, we can get this done, as a city council, that everybody agrees that it needs to be downzoned to R1. I don't understand why anybody would. All parties agree. So, I'm confident in our ability to do that, but I agree with Councilman Daves that in the interim, when the agenda comes up, we modify the agenda for it to be
Let's
somewhat.
just put this at the end of the agenda, and that'll give time for all these documents to be completed and executed and so forth. And then we can come back at some point this afternoon and get it done.
All right,
If need be.
Core,
You can't,
Mr. Penn,
without the public hearing.
Mr. Penn.
But that's why you do the
Oh,
MOUs.
hold up. Mr. Penn had the floor.
Oh, sorry, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with Joel. That's why I feel like we've been talking for a long time. We already had agreement. Let's move past this. I agree with the mayor. I know it's a challenge when you have something already agreed on with all the parties, and then you come back and then things change. It's sad. It's hard. When we have those type of things take place. I had that situation where you had things agreement, and then things change. So, but let's move forward. Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk.
08-1339, approved purchase order to Gray Bar Electric for roadway luminaries for traffic engineering. 08-1340, approved purchase order to Gray Bar and Southern Lighting and Traffic Systems for decorative iron street light poles and luminary fixtures for St. Louis Street. 08-1341, approved purchase order to Caseware for annual renewal of investigation management software. 09-1342, allocate funds from unassigned fund balance in the general fund to capital project animal shelter facility. 21-1343, authorized contract with Touchdown Cleaning Services, Inc. for janitorial services at the cruise terminal. 21-1344, authorized contract with J. Hunt Enterprise General Contractors for site work phase for the new animal services facility. 21-1345, authorized contract with Potago Rentals for portable toilets for Mardi Gras 2024. 23-1346, accept a deed from the Board of School Commissioners, Mobile County for 1600 Borkin Boulevard. 23-1347, accept a quick claim deed from the state of Alabama for the Civic Center project. 25-1348, accept permanent drainage easement and temporary construction easement, one temporary construction easement and one right of entry permit needed for Highway 45 Streetscape Improvements Project. 60-1349, authorized settlement agreement and release of claims. Ordinances being introduced, 64062 and 063 are the rezonings on Halls Mill Road. Consent resolutions being introduced, 37, 1352, 1353, 1354, 1355 are recommending approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a lounge retail Class 2 liquor license for Just For Us Lounge on Dolphin Island Parkway, for issuance of a retail beer, table wine off premises only liquor license for Stadium Food Mart on Virginia Street, for issuance of a retail beer, table wine off premises only liquor license to Cottage Hill Food Mart on Cottage Hill Road, for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license for the Maze Taco Cantina on Cottage Hill Road. 58, 13, 56, declare weeds noxious, group 1651. 60, 13, 57, 13, 58 are approve award of special bonus to firefighter of the month and approve an award for officer of the month. 60, 13, 59, and 1360, determine an appropriation to CC's Classic Catering and Hillsdale Athletic Booster Club, Inc., serve a public purpose and approving payment. Resolutions being introduced, 08, 1361, approve item-based bids for contracts for fuel. 08, 1362, approve purchase order to Dennis Aluminum Products for aluminum signposts and extensions for traffic engineering, $279,450. 08, 1363, approve purchase order to Gauls for rifle shields for MPD, $150,820. 08, 1364, approve purchase order to Strahan Services for tank repairs to Water Wagon, $23,116.73. 08, 1365, approved purchase order to UJ Chevrolet for repairs to 2021 Chevrolet Tahoe, $17,959.54. 08, 1366, approved purchase order to University of South Alabama for EMT certification class for Mobile Fire Rescue Department, $46,000. 08, 1367, approved purchase order to Toomey's Mardi Gras Candy Inc. for $18,639. We'll ask if you would suspend the rules to go ahead and put that purchase order in so we can get this done for Mardi Gras. 09, 1368, transfer funds from the General Fund Program and Project Management to Capital Improvement Fund Mobile Greenway Initiative to fund change order for 3 Mile Creek Project, $15,857. 1369, authorized change order 2 with Mott McDonald for 3 Mile Creek, $15,857. 211370, authorized contract with Robert J. Baggett for bulkhead replacement at Cooper Riverside Park, $6,973,541.
Mr. President.
Yeah, Mr. Woods.
Quick question on this. With this bulkhead replacement, that's obviously, I guess, what we've been, if you go down to Cooper Riverside Park, there's barricades preventing you to get to the bulkhead. This will allow folks to get back to, because again, this is a question I've had multiple times, get back to fishing off that bulkhead. That's the reason that's stopped at the moment, I guess. And this will rectify that situation. All right, we'll just ponder that and I'll ask it, council.
Yeah, well, no, we kind of let them fish sometimes. We even put a little water spigot down there. This is the money for where the Cooper Riverside Park walkway is collapsing. And
Okay, right against the water there.
Right against
Okay.
the water. It comes back, I think, about 20 feet, I think, right there, and extends a long way.
So I got
that's-
a game warden that constantly calls me about that.
Yeah. Oh, man, you're welcome to come go fishing with me, you know.
Yeah, I had that question.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was coming out of capital. It's definitely not coming out of my capital because I don't have that kind of money. It's Go Mesa. It's Go Mesa. All of it was Go Mesa.
Bulkhead.
All of it was Go Mesa. Okay, thank you.
211371, authorized contract with Geotechnical Engineering Testing, Inc. for Civic Center Parking Facility Inspections and Construction Materials Testing Services, $258,765. 211372, authorized contract with ARCO Company services for emergency generator preventative maintenance and repairs at various city locations, $63,755 first year. 211373, authorized contract with Southern Actuarial Services for consulting, preparation, and review of actuarial report, $15,900. 401374, authorized extension of closing deadline for 63 South Royal Street. 601375, 1376 are authorizing settlement agreement and release of claims. Announcement, there will not be a council meeting next Tuesday.
I want to go back to 211370 on that contract with Baggett. Casey, did we meet the minority requirements in that contract? We did.
Hey, Lisa, how do you want to handle,
I can't hear you.
how do you want to handle,
Just suspend the rules.
what, I'm sorry?
Suspend the rule.
No, not that one. 011337 on the Scannell project. Do you want to just skip it and add it to the end of the agenda? How do you want to do that?
Why don't we just amend the agenda?
Just
When we
officially. how do
adopt
you
it?
wanna-
Yeah, we can amend the agenda, when we get ready to adopt it. Just,
Does the order really matter? Can you just call it when you want it?
I
Right?
can.
Yeah, just call it. Yeah.
Just call it when you want. The order doesn't matter.
That's what I meant. Just skip it and.
Yes,
put it at
ma'am.
the end.
That's
Yeah,
all.
okay.
That's all right.
Council, anything?
No, I'm fine. I mean, as long as we get to the end of the road today, I'm fine.
Dave, you good? Mr. Penn, Vice President Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Woods.
Yes, sir. I know that we have scheduled the garbage committee. I'm sorry, garbage, trash, and litter ordinance for a committee meeting. That's what I feel like is. I feel like I'm at the garbage committee. Due to some timing conflicts, folks being out of town and in town, I'd like to move that committee meeting to later in the month, so that we can have input from staff. So, if we could, maybe, I mean, if everybody's amenable to it, I mean, can we move it to the 30th of January? That'll pretty much give enough time for folks to get back in town and all.
Anything from the administration? Okay. Council, we just need to be downstairs before 10:20. All right? You gonna walk? All right. All right. Probably
Where?
on the, yeah, on the side street. Yeah. All right.
Oh, you,
Mr. Potter's got the revised or updated print he wants to pass out.
Yeah, I got
Okay.
paper copies of the.
Go ahead.
You got Friday along with the exhibits, and you'll have the MOU in the next 5 minutes.
Okay, so when we say the end,
He's gonna introduce this.
want me just to go through everything
The entire agenda.
and then right before announcements? Okay.
All right.
And let's get a picture of the entire council in front of a Christmas tree or something, so we can put something on Facebook. Merry Christmas.